I'm an alcoholic. Thank you for having me here. I've never been to this meeting before. It's odd because it's been around for a long time, hasn't it? And I live locally, but I've just never been here before. My date of sobriety, for what it's worth, and I'll come to what it's worth in a moment. My date of sobriety is 24th of July 1993. What it's worth is that although being around for a while, or even a long time, doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't mean that one is well. But I have been sober for this time, and you can't help but pick up a few things along the way that you couldn't pick up in 5 minutes. You see things, that you see how things work out. You see the long-term consequences of one's own courses of action and others' courses of action. You see what happens to groups that do certain things. You see what happens to groups that do other things. You can't help but notice a few things. So there is it doesn't make me valuable, but having been around for a long time is valuable to me. But having said that, a friend of mine who goes to meetings around here says continuous sobriety. You know, sometimes when people say, I'm celebrating X years of continuous sobriety, he says continuous sobriety doesn't keep you sober. So the fact you've been continuously sober it does not mean one's necessarily going to, or continue to be sober. It's a statement about the past, not about the future. And what I'm very aware of is with recovery, one can recover from alcoholism. I don't think I'm in a permanent state of ailing. I haven't been ailing for a very long time. So the word recovering doesn't really ring true to me, because I only have to recover from alcoholism. I don't have to recover from the human condition, which is not a pathology. So the fact I still have that is not a sign that I'm still recovering from alcoholism. It's a sign my tick is still ticking. That's all. The way my sponsor puts it, my sponsor is from Texas, and so he's liable to say the sort of thing that follows. If you recover from a gunshot wound, Texas, if you recover from a gunshot... in the AA clubhouses there, you can tell a lot about a place by what is prohibited. And you can tell a lot about a country by what is prohibited or looked down on in the country. That means it's happened there, or they wouldn't have had to prohibit it. And it says on the AA club houses on the door on the way in, no handguns. So clearly there was an incident one day, and they had a little group conscience, and they decided to put a sign up. So that's going to stop someone with a handgun, isn't it? They're going to turn up with the handgun, see the sign, and think, "Oh, I mustn't do that. Very bad." Anyway, the point: if you recover from a gunshot wound, that doesn't protect you from being shot again. It just means you've recovered. So the fact I've recovered from alcoholism doesn't mean I can't reacquire it. And how would I reacquire it? Very simple. Start running my life. It's not complicated. The things I can't change my biological makeup, and my biological makeup seems to be such that if something gives me a thrill, my reason goes out of the window. And I'll want more, even if more doesn't help. Even if I know more doesn't help, that doesn't help. Sometimes people say insanity is, what do they say, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Maybe. I knew exactly what results I was getting from my drinking towards the end, and I didn't like them, and I still wanted to do them. Of course I didn't want that, but I was compelled. Once I'd had a drink, I was compelled to carry on drinking. Otherwise, how could I explain the remorse and the awfulness the next day? If I was doing what I wanted, I would have been happy the next day with how much I'd drunk the night before. But I woke up regretting how much I'd drunk the night before. That tells me I was drinking against my will. Very straightforward test. If you wake up every morning thinking, very glad I drank that second bottle of gin last night, marvellous, you might be drinking in accordance with your will. If you wake up the next morning thinking, oh, fuck, you're probably drinking against your will. I was drinking against my will, therefore. Now that observation extends not just to after the first drink, it extends to the apparent decision to have the first drink. A decision, I was informed once, is a commitment to action based on a sound analysis of the facts. I did not have the first drink following a sound analysis of the facts. And I asked the question, well, what is it then? What is it that got me to have the first drink after a period of sobriety? If it's not a decision, then what? Someone said, yielding to an impulse which is beyond your power to resist. And that sat well with me. I understood that. You can be bumbling along through your day. I would be bumbling along through my day, minding my own business and not really thinking about drinking. And suddenly the thought of a drink would occur, and immediately my mind would work hard to justify why it was a good idea, to rearrange my schedule to make it possible, to sort things out so that I'd have a nice, good gap to get the job done. I don't need to do that with things which are good. I don't need to justify them. Because I knew that this impulse would win, so I was making the necessary arrangements. This is not decision-making. And sometimes it was with a heavy heart I realised, oh God, we're off again, are we? Very, very well. Thy will be done. It always makes me laugh when people in AA say, well, I have trouble with the idea of turning my will and life over to a power greater than me. I thought you'd done it with alcohol for years. Well, what's the difference? Is that not embarrassing enough? And at the end of it, frankly, it should have been despair or something that got me in. It was becoming embarrassing going to meetings saying, I've done it again, because I was one of those done it again people for a while, for a few months. I just got embarrassed and bored, and everyone around me in my home group was embarrassed and bored. Like, for just very good, sharing's very good, but you're not getting the not drinking bit of the programme. How about you work on that bit first, once you've got that bit sorted out? Because it does, frankly, require a commitment and a little bit of willpower at the beginning. Now, that willpower is bolstered by all the strength of AA and the so-called tools of the programme. But those are not a substitute for making a decision and saying, right, I can't drink today. I mustn't drink today, come what may. And the reason that works in AA, I think, it doesn't work outside AA, is outside AA. When I made that commitment, there was this dreary certainty extending forever in time to some point over there. And I thought, whatever this is, whatever I was feeling, I am going to have to put up with forever. Whereas what became apparent in AA was causing changes to come about in me, and very quickly. And from that I knew, if I stick around here, however rotten it is on a particular day, not drinking, I'll wake up the next day glad I stayed sober the night before. I've never woken up wishing I had a hangover. I've never woken up wishing I drank yesterday. Observation number one. Observation number two, I would always wake up, once I was in AA, feeling different the next day. Okay, sometimes worse. But different, but a different bad. The story was clearly moving on. And then there'd be good days and bad days and indifferent days. And even in the bad days, there'd be patches which were borderline acceptable. And I thought, all I have to do is stick around and trust that other people who've been around longer know more about what they're talking about than I do. And they said, those bits, those moments of reprieve are going to join up and merge, and then you're going to have periods of reprieve from yourself. But the point I was making is that it's possible to relapse, and the way it would happen is me going back to a condition where I ask myself what I think is going on around me, and I say, Tim, well, this is what is happening. Then I say, Tim, what do you think I should do? And I say, well, Tim, what I think you should do is, and it's a little closed circuit. I remember in Toynbee Hall, about 15 years ago, I remember the person saying that the alcoholic mind is like a closed economic system. One half manufactures bullshit and the other half buys it. And all it takes is one occasion on which one half of my mind says, let's have a drink. Now, if I'm in the habit of buying whatever that side of my mind is producing, I'll have a drink. So I've got to not be buying whatever is being produced up there. Now, you can't go around like a what? Like a something that doesn't make decisions and doesn't think and doesn't apprehend what is going on. One's got to think. One's going to be thinking. One's going to be noticing things. One's going to be assessing the situation. One's going to have to decide what to do one way or another. So if not me, then what? Well, not you. I mean, God love you all, but I wouldn't put my will and life in any of your hands. And nor should I, and nor should you in mine. You know, fallible people. Then, I mean, they're nice to start with, but when you get to know them, Jesus. People scrub up very well, but you do not want to put your will and life in the hands of someone else, or even an AA group. I mean, yeah, it's all very nice until you're at a group conscience and you find out what people are really like. And so, now, people can be good channels for the higher power. The higher power seems to draw straight lines with broken pencils, mercifully. And that goes with individuals and groups and religions and whatevers. So God will use those, but they are not the source, they're the channel. And I need to have confidence in a source. And the best way to acquire, I think, a relationship with a higher power, well, it's a bit like swimming. You can't learn it on the shore. You have to get in there and start splashing around and almost drowning. And it starts simply by addressing the higher power, saying, what do you want me to do today? You don't have to start with holy, holy, holy. Or anything like that. Start simpler. Start with, what should I do this morning? Sit with a pen and piece of paper. What would someone with a good there's a good question. What would someone with a good program do today? And then you write that down, because you always know. We always know what the goody two-shoes would do. And you write down what they would do, and then you do that. And I don't get up to any mischief when I do that. The mischief comes from when I go off script, have little ideas of my own. I had a little idea yesterday, and I said something, and I regretted it immediately. I'd prayed that morning, saying, God, show me what to do. And the answer came back, keep big fat mouth shut. Did I? No. And that's the problem. And which is why on a daily basis I need to be spotting when I'm up to me old tricks again, pulling myself up short, saying, oi, oi, you need to stop that. Because if that becomes a pattern, I could drink. I think there is considerable grace in AA. I think God loves a trier. If one's trying, it doesn't matter if one's making mistakes, and if one's sincere about clearing up those mistakes rather than just sweeping them under the carpet or pretending they're not there, I don't think anyone minds too much. And I seem to be able to stay sober despite myself. But it boils down to, first of all, sincerity of purpose in staying sober and wanting to do the right thing. And secondly, just do the damn programme, do the steps, go to meetings, have a sponsor, have sponsees, do some service, say the prayers, do a little daily inventory, let it go at that. Do that. I do that, very straightforward, and I'm fine. It works. That's all I got, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Well done.